Anderson got it to Besser in front, backhander scores! The puck back in. Campoli trying to clear it. Oh, shoots! Burrows is fresh. Off the puck loose to Edwards. Catches for Alex Burrows. It's up in the air. Now McKinnon to the side. Oh! With the left glove! Are you kidding me? What a save!
Hey, Canucks Nation, Brandon Alston here, play-by-play for the Edmonton Canucks. You've got it locked on the line change, the Vancouver Canucks podcast.
What's up, Canuck fans? Welcome to the Line Change of Vancouver Canucks podcast. Today, we're joined by a very special guest. He is one half of the dynamic duo for the Locked On Canucks podcast, writer and reporter for the Daily Hive. Welcome back to the podcast. None other than Trevor Beggs. What's happening, brother?
Not much, bud. Doing well. A busy day covering the Olympics over here at Daily Hive, and sorry to keep you waiting, man. I was gonna caught a nosebleed right before we started our episode of Locked On Canucks today. I thought maybe I'd be like 5 minutes quicker, but that's the way life goes, man. Life's always busy.
All good, brother. It's all good, man. I got all the time, so it's totally good. Plus, I was tuning in. You saw I was tuning in, so. I know we're gearing up for the Olympics, and you don't have a whole lot of time, so we'll try and get through as much as we can. As I mentioned, we're gearing up for the Olympics, so maybe we'll try and sneak a little Olympics talk in there, but let's talk about them knuckleheads. Now, there's been some rampant speculation that we could see a veteran with term being dealt at the trade deadline. We've heard Jake DeBrusk's name. We've heard the newly engaged Brock Besser's name brought up as well by Drancer. Those are two veterans with term who are, according to him, most likely to be traded. Personally, I'm a little hesitant on the Besser part just because he did just resign and he's got a no move. Plus, the man just got engaged. So he's planting roots here in Vancouver. And he's already stated so many times that he wants to be here. And I just don't see him waiving his no move clause. DeBrusk, on the other hand, he is also someone who has a no move, made it known he'd be open to moving. We've heard the Oilers been thrown out there as a possible team. What are your thoughts on those two being singled out as guys with term who are most likely to be moved at the deadline?
Yeah, I'll touch on DeBrusk first. Just from, hearing what he's had to say in the locker room, you could tell this season is really worn on him. And of course, it's worn on everyone in this room, right? No one enjoys losing 17 of 19 games heading into the Olympics, right? But just the way DeBrusk has talked, he's never been through anything like this in his entire career. And, he hasn't outright said it, but I do get the vibe that he would be open to a change. Now, of course, with DeBrusk, I don't think you're getting much value for DeBrusk at all. I think he'd be open to waiving his no move, that's step one. But what are you going to get in return for DeBrusk? Is the team going to bite on his power play production, maybe give you a third round pick? I don't think so. I'm really not convinced of that. I mean, if you're a scout and you watch multiple Vancouver Canucks games, DeBrusk has been a ghost at even strength ever since he came to Vancouver. And I know, the fancy stats and the numbers were on his side prior to coming to the city. But, man, oh man, even on Locked On Canucks last year, people said I was too hard on Jake DeBrusk. And I kept saying, this guy is just an absolute non-factor to even strength. He'll show up on the score sheet, but on a shift-to-shift basis, he does not make a difference at all. But of the two, I do think he's more likely to move. Doesn't have the same ties to the city, used to winning hockey. Brock Besser, on the other hand, I don't see this happening at all. So when Duran's name dropped him alongside Garland as the two most likely Canucks with term to be traded, that really surprised me. The issue with that is who's trading for Brock Besser? Could you even get a 6th or 7th round pick for this guy? He's been awful. And even just looking at the past couple of seasons, right? Of course, he had the 40-goal season in 23-24, but for the most part, in 4 of the past 5 seasons, he's underperformed. He has not been great. And, maybe there's a team out there that just, believes in the upside and believes in the goal scoring and will take a flyer on him in that contract. But I really have a hard time seeing Brock Besser moving at this point. I mean, I can just picture LV now. You thought you could get nothing for Brock Besser at the deadline last year? What about now? I don't think you can get anything for Brock Besser. I think that's the truth.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I also saw you and Kyle talking about this on Locked On the other day, that being rolling with 3 goalies next season. And I actually kind of touched on this a couple of videos ago, talking about Tolo and the fact that he's no longer waiver exempt after this season, they're basically in another Seelobs scenario. That, and I also mentioned in your guys' chat that they can't make the same mistake they made with Seelobs last year with Tolo. Like, fool me once, that whole scenario and whatnot. But yeah, I just don't think they should let go of Tolopilo. And I've been really impressed with his play. I know he's only 3-3, but still, that performance against the Leafs was phenomenal, even though they lost the game. But still, he stopped 39 shots against the Leafs. What are your thoughts on that? And yeah, should they keep Tolo?
Yeah, I think right now the way I stand on it is probably similar to you. Is that I think they should probably roll 3 goalies next year, because even if Demko comes back, is anyone trusting Thatcher Demko to stay healthy? I don't think so. And Tolopilo is signed for 1 more year at league minimum. Like you said, he's waiver exempt he's not waiver exempt next year. Lankinen has struggled. Look, I think there's multiple reasons why you keep Tolopilo on the team. Don't sell him for pennies on the dollar. He's been statistically the best goalie in Vancouver this season, right? And I found this kind of funny too, but even among, ex-Canuck goalies around the league as well, the 2 goalies with the best save percentage who are either on the Canucks or used to be Canucks are Casey DeSmith and Nikita Tolopilo, just like everybody predicted. But look, I think you keep Tolopilo right now. I think you look at his game compared to Lankinen's, and look, the environment is not friendly to goaltenders, and this feels like it's been going on in Vancouver for a while, minus a short little blip there under Rick Tocchet. But he's performed well in a tough environment, and he's proven to be, at least in a short sample size, less leaky than Kevin Lankinen. And look, he's 6'6". He's a huge goalie, right? And huge goalies can have holes. We saw Jacob Markstrom in this city who had his flaws in that department. But Nikita Tolopilo, for the most part, has been able to shut the door. It looks like he's getting better, which is a big bonus as well. I would keep him right now. Look, goalies historically don't have great trade value. You're not going to get a ton for Tolopilo. Just keep him in the city and see if he can be part of the future going forward. And maybe Lankinen or Demko can recuperate some value, and you can move one of those guys if they're willing to waive their no move clause. Again, another blunder from this management team, but as of right now, I agree. Keep Tolopilo in Vancouver. Like you said, don't repeat the same mistake that they did with Artur Shilovs.
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of leaning towards Lankinen maybe being moved. I don't think you can get anything for Demko, and you just can't risk or rely on him being healthy, regardless of that. If that hip surgery actually fixes anything, there's no guarantee. It's unknown. And hey, if it does, I'll eat my damn words. And if he's back to old Demko or bubble Demko, then cool, great. But still, yeah, definitely keep Tolo. I know David Cordelli is a big Tolopilo guy, so just to make quads happy, keep Tolo around. And yeah, like you said, 6'6". The guy doesn't scramble in the net like I've noticed with Lankinen. He's not like a fish out of water. He's calm, collected, which actually kind of reminds me a lot of Demko earlier on in his career as well. Moving on, I made a few videos around the subject, but I want to get your thoughts on it. What do you think about the Canucks utilizing a cap dump and turning them into future assets? I've talked about guys like Warren Foegele. Just the other day, I talked about Patrick Laine. Not too keen on that one, but what are your just thoughts on the Canucks weaponizing the cap? And
yeah, I'm all over that idea. I mean, it's something that I think we've been screaming for in this market for a long time, right? And it's something we haven't really seen this team ever do for the most part, right? This is the team that, again, we don't have our 2027 second round picks. We had to get off Jason Dickinson and his $2.6 million. It's always gone the other way. Look, I think if there's any opportunity, even if it's Patrick Laine, to execute a cap dump trade and get assets, you got to do it. And I mean, the issue now in the NHL is I think you're seeing a little bit less of it just because the cap has increased exponentially compared to past years, right? We're not in this COVID freeze anymore. But I think if you're the Vancouver Canucks, the game plan should be to move a veteran or two with term. I love Connor Garland, but if you can get even something similar to Kiefer Sherwood return, you trade him. If you can trade one of Besser or DeBrusk, that's amazing. Go do it. And then use that cap space to get more assets. I think what we talked about on our show this week was trade Connor Garland, free up his $5 million cap hit, and then go take on Laine or something along those lines, right? Then all of a sudden, maybe you're getting 3 draft picks by trading Garland and acquiring Laine. if the Canadiens are willing to do that, which reportedly they are willing to do. So, look, man, we absolutely need to build for the future here in Vancouver. We need to get more draft picks. This team has struggled. I mean, it's a mind-blowing stat that we've never had, 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders in the same draft. I mean, that is a wild stat. It's time that they get as many draft picks as possible. And look, this management team so far has proven that they can draft okay, right? Even the Tom Willander one, which I think there were some question marks when he got drafted. Look at the guy drafted after him. I think they made a pretty good selection there. Lekker-Mackey, like no one below him has really torn it up, but I think we're all pretty high on him still. Of course, they nabbed DPD in the 3rd round back in 2022 as well. So early returns are looking good. Braden Coots is looking pretty good, although I think there's some guys after him who have actually performed better, but it is early on still in that regard. But just go get as many draft picks as possible. And if the same management team is here, so far they've at least proven to be adequate at the draft table.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. I mean, we've seen guys like Liam Ogren, who was drafted after Lekker-Mackey, perform so well since the trade. Granted, we didn't draft him, but let's get into some Olympics. We've seen the official line combos revealed, at least for some of the teams, not all of them. Matter of fact, I actually have them right here, so let me go ahead and just bring them up. Start off with Canada. And right away, what jumps out to me is Sidney Crosby on the 3rd line, centering a 3rd line. And this is Sidney Crosby we're talking about. But another thing that jumps out to me is Celebrini playing with McDavid and Tom Wilson. Just Celebrini and McDavid alone, that looks fire to me. Seeing those two playing together. Obviously, we have Horvat centering the 4th line with Hagel and Reinhart. I'm obviously over the moon happy for Bo being on Team Canada. I think he absolutely deserves it. Obviously, we have the goaltenders Binnington and Thompson. I think people at least who are regulars on my channel know my thoughts on Binner. But yeah, just looking at this, what are your first initial reactions and thoughts to the combos?
I absolutely love seeing Macklin Celebrini on the 1st line. I mean, look, we got the West Coast bias here, right? And Macklin Celebrini has just been unreal this season. Like, honestly, when the Sharks were in town the other week and I was at that game, I thought Celebrini was going to have 6 points that night, right? I think he finished with 4. But just such an unreal talent. I mean, you talk about guys who want the puck on their stick. And one of the things he does so well is he can hold on to the puck to the very last second and still make a play under duress to one of his teammates, right? And I love the idea of seeing him with on the same line as McDavid. And look, Celebrini and Wilson are both bigger guys who can really protect the puck well. And same with McDavid, of course. Crosby on the 3rd line, I mean, I don't mind that at all because look at the 2 guys ahead of him, right? McDavid and McKinnon. I mean, it's hard to put Crosby ahead of both those guys. I know he's, Captain Canada in a sense. And but yeah, look, I'm a big fan of these line combos. I'm happy to see Horvat, getting a spot initially in the top 12, even though they added Sam Bennett, the reigning Conn Smythe winner. But I'm Team Horvat, man. I think we all love Horvat. Probably didn't get a fair shake. I know there was all kinds of talk about the country club in Vancouver under Horvat, but Horvat, just from my dealings with him, I was only a part-time reporter at the time, but just a really nice dude to talk to. Willing to face the music after games and willing to have a conversation even after a tough night. And there's just not a lot of guys on this team right now who want to do that, even including Quinn Hughes when he took over from him as captain. So I'm loving this lineup right now. Of course, the goaltending, like you said, you're really just hoping and praying that Binnington can show up in a big moment because he's been awful this season. But yeah, man, let's go kick some USA ass and let's go win gold.
Yeah, for sure. And, with Crosby being on that 3rd line, it just shows you the depth this team has, down the middle, which something Canuck fans know nothing about, because our center depth is so bad, right? At least for now, right now, it's bad. Not going to lie, it would have been nice to see a line of Celebrini, McDavid, and Bedard as opposed to Wilson. But, I'm still eager to see how Wilson does on that top line on the right wing. And, hey, at least nobody will mess with, Mac or McDavid or Celebrini with Wilson being on their wing. So speaking of USA, let's take a look at USA real quick. We got Eichel and the two Kachuk brothers centering that first line. Then you have Matthews on the second, Larkin, Nelson down the middle, Gensel with Boldy, and then Kyle Connor on the left wing on the third line, Tage Thompson on the right wing, and then you have here it says JT Miller on the left wing on the fourth line. But I think I saw someone mention how he's actually an extra. I don't know which one's actually confirmed because they had Trocheck in that spot and then Miller as an extra. But this is just what I was able to come up with. Obviously, you have Quinn Hughes with McAvoy. I'm actually a little surprised they don't have Hughes with Faber, considering how they've been tearing it up in Minnesota. But yeah, once again, just your instant reaction or thoughts on Team USA's line combos.
Well, I think for Canada's odds, I really hope JT Miller plays because he hasn't had a great season, but Vinny Trocheck hasn't been much better there. Look, it's going to be a lot of fun when Canada and the US, play at the Olympics. If they do play, I guess it's not a guarantee right now. But look, this is a formidable roster. Like even guys like Matt Boldy are, I'd say, kind of underrated. Kyle Connor on the third line, that guy is pretty electric himself. Dylan Larkin's having a hell of a season. The fact that you can have Jack Hughes on your fourth line is a pretty big flex as well. And their goaltending is much better, right? I know Hellebuck maybe didn't have the greatest Four Nations. And has had some struggles after coming back from injury this season, although he's still one of the best goaltenders, if not the best goaltender in the world. So, look, it's still a great roster. Of course, I think we're all going to be following Quinn Hughes pretty closely. Like, how motivated is this guy to will his team to gold after missing out on the Four Nations? I think the Olympics are going to make Canucks fans miss Quinn Hughes even more, if that was even possible.
Yeah, definitely. And he's probably the only reason why I'd even pay attention to the non-Canada versus US games, just to see how he does for Team USA. Let's quickly look over at Team Sweden, because I know you and Kyle were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier. You have Eriksson Ek centering your top line with Nylander and Kempe, Bratt/Forsberg on the left wing. I guess I'm not sure if these are 100% accurate or up to date, but obviously what pops out to me is Elias Pettersson being on the left wing on the third line. He's not even centering his own line, which is a little surprising, at least to me anyway. Your thoughts on Team Sweden and how they're looking?
Yeah, well, I think compared to another production I saw, there was one skate where I think Kempe was on the fourth line, I thought. So, I mean, Kempe deserves to be in the top six, absolutely. And, one storyline I was hoping to see would be Kempe and Pettersson playing together and hopefully developing some chemistry. And that's more of a pipe dream because I've said it before, I'm more of a Canuck fan than I'm a Team Canada fan, right? Like if there's something in the Olympics that can, help Team Sweden or help the Canucks, then I'm absolutely all for it, man. I'm all for, Pettersson developing chemistry with someone and hopefully spearheading a Canucks trade forward. 1 second, man. I got to go get the door. My family's here.
Okay.
All right. I'm back. Sorry about
that. Okay, brother. Okay, man.
I can start from where I was at if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm more of a Canucks fan than I'm a Team Canada fan. Like if there's a storyline that can, help the Vancouver Canucks, execute a trade that's going to help them build for the future, I'm all for it. So I do hope Pettersson finds chemistry with someone, anybody at the Olympics. But am I that surprised to see him as a third line left wing? I'm not, because he's not the same impact player he was, right? He might be the highest paid player on this team, but he's a spare part for Team Sweden at the end of the day. And he might be leading the Canucks in points, but he's the lowest point leader among anyone in the NHL. So, I mean, I think we're all going to be looking for the Olympics at, like, can he show something that, makes him look like the player he once was? But it's still not something I'm holding my breath over.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Like just show us, like, maybe just a glimpse of something, a little glimmer of hope. Let's take a look at Team Finland. Obviously, you have Roope Hintz at center. with Rantanen and Granlund, who, by the way, Granlund was named team captain for Finland. I'll admit I was a little surprised at that. I thought maybe Rantanen or Aho might get that honor. But you have Aho centering the second line with Lehkonen and Teravainen. So obviously you have some of that chemistry with Aho and Teravainen from their time in Carolina. You have Lundell, Luosterainen, and Kakko on the third line, and then Haula, Tolvanen, and Armia on your fourth line. Obviously you have Heiskanen. I believe he didn't play in the Four Nations, I think. So seeing him obviously is probably a boost for Finland. Mikola, Ristolainen, and then Mata and Jokuharu. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And then, of course, you have Lankinen, backing up Saros. And, of course, the Canuck aspect of it being, Lankinen, will he actually see some games? Because we all saw how he basically took over from Saros in the Four Nations. So we'll see if that happens again. Your thoughts on how the Finns are lining up?
Yeah, I mean, look, on paper, they're inferior to Sweden, US, and Canada, right? But they always just find a way to work hard and battle and eke out some wins at the Olympics. And of course, it's a little bit different this time around when they're going to be playing against some weaker opponents, right? I know like Slovakia's in the group, Sweden's in the group, and another inferior teams in their group. So, look, they're going to win some games. They always got some talent at the top of the lineup. I think a lot of people could even see them meddling, right? But they are an inferior team overall. With Lankinen, I'm curious if he's even going to play a game, to be honest, or like get a second of game action. I know, like you said, he stepped in for Saros at the Four Nations. Statistically this season, though, if you look at goals saved above average, he's been inferior to Saros, and he's been inferior to Jonas Korpisalo, right? And again, I know he plays in the tough environment of Vancouver. He's obviously got some trust from Finland based on the fact that he did get named to the Four Nations. He did play a significant role at the Four Nations. But from a Canuck perspective, that's one storyline I'm following is, will this guy actually get a look at ice time at the Olympics? I'm not convinced of it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes you wonder, I was actually, I got pretty heated on our last post game about him even playing against the Golden Knights. I thought that should have been Tolo's start. But perhaps they were maybe trying to, get him some action before the Olympics. But yeah, I got pretty heated on that because I was hell-bent on – I was on the Tolo train. So,
and look, you obviously had a point, right? I mean, Tolopilo had the great game against the Maple Leafs, and then Lankinen was not great in his final games before the Olympic break. So,
yeah, definitely. Let's see if some of the people have some questions since we have just a little bit of time. Back to that. Let's see the chat. Irvin said, make sure he's got a shirt on. Don't worry, Irvin. He's got one on. Don't worry.
Yeah, like the shirtless post games. I said they only happen after a win. Often I'm a busy dad at too. Like I get my workouts in when I'm watching Canuck games, but so that's like the main reason the shirt would come off. I'm after a workout, Canucks winning. I'm feeling good. But there's not been a lot of winning this season. I don't know if there's been one shirtless post game this season. So shout out to someone who's been paying attention to Locked On Canucks for a little bit of time here.
Yeah, and Irvin's got a good point going back to our talk about Tolopilo. You can't let go of Tolopilo at least until Medvedev arrives. And to me, I think that's still like maybe 3 years away from him at least getting at least some NHL games. Possibly could we see Medvedev play in Abbey next year? Maybe. At least I think that's what we're hoping for, him getting a start.
Yeah, I'd be a little surprised because you get one exemption, right? And I think it's going to be Braden Coots. And I know Medvedev had a really hot start with the London Knights this season. He kind of cooled off a bit over the last little bit here. So, goaltenders take a long time to develop. Like, don't rush Medvedev. There's no reason to rush him to Vancouver. And in terms of keeping Tolo around that long, look, I love Tolo, but 3 to 4 years we're talking is a long time. We'll see if Tolo can actually be that guy. Like, make him earn it first. I'm not saying absolutely keep Tolo until that happens, but I think he's earned the right to at least stick around in the NHL, like heading into next season.
Yeah, definitely. Urban asks, what is Finland doing that Canada isn't in terms of turning out goalies?
Man, I wish I had the answer to that question, Well, I think in Canada, it's just, I don't want to go on a huge tangent, but I think the cost of entry for hockey in Canada specifically is really, really high, right? The barrier to entry is really, really high. Goaltending is a bit of a niche position as well. But yeah, maybe I'll tell you when my kids are a bit older and they start getting into it. But I think it starts at a grassroots level, and we're clearly doing something wrong where we're not developing goaltenders the same way. I mean, look, the U.S. has surpassed us. Finland has surpassed us. I don't know if Sweden's really got a huge star right now, though Wallstedt would kind of qualify as one. And look, there's some young Canadian goalies as well, like the Joshua Ravensbergen and Carter George. Like, there could be some up-and-coming goalies, but yeah, and we also, comparisons to Thief of Joy, right? Like, we had so many great goalies in our past here with like Luongo and Price and Brodeur and Waugh. Sometimes I just think it's the law of averages too, right? Where it's not going to last forever, especially as hockey starts to grow globally.
Mm-hmm. I know this one's a little close to home. Some thoughts on Jim Robson and some of the memories that he has narrated, at least in your mind.
Yeah, I talked about this on Locked On Canucks. I got to be honest. I'm in my early 30s, so I don't have a lot of memories of Jim Robson as a kid. Like, I think the year I started watching hockey was the year he retired. He probably called like the first goal I remember, which was Todd Bertuzzi sniping one home against the Islanders back in like 98 or 99 or something like that. But look, I've gone back and watched a lot of clips from the 94 run, the 82 run. I love those documentaries, man. It's good to learn Canucks history. And, Jim Robson's calls are iconic, man. And I've just got a lot of respect for a guy who, again, was in an era where a lot of people consume Canuck content on radio. Like, the way you experience Canuck hockey was through Jim Robson. You're not watching on an HD TV, right? It's a very different time. And Jim Robson was really the go to what he did. And, I think he started broadcasting in the mid-50s. So by the time the Canucks entered the NHL, he was already extremely polished. And look, I don't know if there's anyone that embodies Vancouver Canucks more than Jim Robson, right? And I'm heartbroken that he never got to see a cup win in this city. But some of his calls, like the Linden one's the one that sticks in my mind. Like, he'll play. He'll play. That's the intensity, the love, the passion that he brought behind the microphone, the ability to be witty and funny and descriptive. Like, he was like an 11 out of 10 broadcasting goat. And although we haven't been blessed on the ice with great hockey throughout Canucks history, we've absolutely been blessed in terms of our broadcasters. And all the love in the world for Jim Robson. I did meet him once. Really, really nice guy as well. So just one love to Jim Robson.
Yeah, for sure. And Hangio says it right in the chat. He'll play on crutches. Yeah, I saw that clip earlier today. I watched the I believe it was Canucks Talk. They had Drancer had Shorty on, and I think Kyle even mentioned it on Locked On Canucks. Him saying all he wanted was for the Canucks to hoist the cup, and the fact that he never got that, and that's just the one thing he wanted. And just hearing Shorty kind of break down a little bit about that, that kind of tugged on everyone's heartstrings. And it's like I mentioned in your guys' chat, he paved the way for guys like Shorty, guys like Jim Houston. I know everyone knows Jim Houston did kind of emulated that call back in 2011. The Vancouver Canucks are going to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's obviously, I was 3 years old when Jim Robson in 94, but hearing that in 2011 and then, going back and listening to Jim Robson's version, you can see how it's iconic and just the respect that Jim Houston had for him and, trying to emulate that call. Honestly, that stanchion goal is still one of my top Canuck memories of all time. That goal call. And yeah, it's just amazing. Amazing. Let's see what else we got. There we go. Lyndon on the radio today was funny. I almost was forced to play whether I could or not after Jim said that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, because Jim is Team Canuck, man. He was Team Canuck through and through, Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You got to do it, man.
Yeah. Hangio says, I saw 100% Canucks podcast. Shout out to 100% Canucks. Had Jim on 6 months ago. I missed that episode when they released it, but I've got it queued up to listen to tonight. Yeah, I actually might have to take a listen on that one myself. Yeah, Irvin says, through Houston, Shorthouse, and Badge, you can hear the DNA of Robson. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I even mentioned...
I think that's a great point, right? Like,
Yeah.
Part of the reason we've had such, iconic broadcasting in this city, it's because it started with Jim Robson, right? Like he paved the way, man.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Jim Robson, there would be no Shorty, Houston, Batch. I even threw in Brandon Astel's name as well. Play-by-play for the Abbey Canucks. And yeah, it's just a tough loss all around. Here's a good question. Who's your dark horse to medal at the Olympics?
Because I'm Team Canucks, I'm going Latvia, baby. Come on, Archer Shilovs. He's shown up in the big moments, man. I mean, this guy, he's an absolute gamer. Like, what's to say Archer Shilovs can't steal a couple games here at the Olympics? What's to say Shilovs can't upset some other teams in this tournament? Like, why can't he upset like a Finland or a Sweden? Even their group's relatively weak, right? It's US, it's Germany, it's Latvia, and it's Denmark, I think. Something along those lines. Look, I could see Latvia medaling in this tournament. That's a spicy dark horse pick. But we're going dark horses, man. I'm going Latvia for sure because I believe in Archer Shilovs and I believe in Captain Teddy, baby.
Yeah, that was my dark horse too. Was Latvia. And seeing Bluger on that first line, centering that first line, definitely brought a big old smile to my face for sure. Especially how he's been playing since he came back from his injury. Hopefully he just keeps up in that trade value. I keep saying it over and over again. Keep up in that trade value so we can get something really good for Teddy Bluger. Although at the same time, makes me kind of want to keep him. What are your thoughts on that? Should we maybe consider keeping him?
No, I think you got to trade him. But I think if you keep him, you should name him captain. Because he talks like a captain more than anyone in the city, man. And I just find it wild being around the rink. Like Teddy Bluger seems to come out for media every second day, and part of it is, the media guys. I'm not even going to say myself, but media guys requesting him because he's one of the most honest guys on the team. He's grounded. He's a good quote. And it's just too many guys on this team that maybe are a little bit grumpy and don't want to talk to the media and don't want to be accountable, even though you're making millions of dollars. And Teddy Bluger has no problem coming out there and being accountable after games, or just in general, even out of practice. So just an open and honest guy. I do really appreciate the leadership Teddy Bluger brings. But to answer your question, no, you got to trade him. If someone's offering you a third-round pick, you got to take it for Teddy Bluger.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hey, at least I'm a big Miller guy, obviously with the jersey in the back. But even I got to say, at least Teddy Bluger's not going like, I don't know. At least he's not giving us those answers. And I did see him kind of rip into the team after the game against Vegas, and I absolutely loved it.
Absolutely.
Irvin says, don't forget about Henry Ravinsky's also playing on Latvia. Speaking of Bluger, who gets more at the trade deadline, Bluger or Kane?
Teddy Bluger. I still have a hard time seeing a team give the Canucks a third for Evander Kane, even if you retain 50% of his salary. But man, maybe there's someone out there willing to bite. But I think Teddy Bluger's proven more this season for like any scout who casually watches Canuck games. I mean, Teddy Bluger has more value as a center. He has more value as a penalty killer. He's scoring at a higher rate on a per game basis than Evander Kane. I think Teddy Bluger gets you more at the deadline than Evander Kane. I think if the Canucks even got a fourth at 50% retain, they'd be doing all right for Evander Kane. Yeah, like he has not been good.
Mm-hmm. Like honestly, I've said it too on the podcast. I'd take a bag of pucks for Evander Kane at this point. Even if it was the 6th or 7th round pick, just take it and run with it. And Urban does say if Teddy was maybe 4 or 5 years younger, I would say keep him, but not at 31. Yeah, I think that's just wishful thinking on my part, just based on how he's been playing as of late. But yeah, I think that's it for the questions. I know you mentioned you got to run, so we'll cut it there. Once again, appreciate you coming on. Absolutely love having you on. So obviously we'll have you on again soon. Definitely give a shout out to Kyle. I absolutely love some of the stuff that he says. Like the stuff about Valentine's Day week, Valentine's Day Eve. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, one love to you and Kyle for sure. And yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
No problem, Tyler. Like I said, it's life gets busy with the podcast and the kids and the day job, but I never want to say no, man. So I'm always happy to join, man. One love to you, and go Canucks, go, man.
Yeah. If you guys want to check out Trevor and Kyle on Locked On Canucks, I have his info in the description. You guys can go ahead and do that. Obviously, give a like and subscribe to Locked On Canucks. And check out Trevor on Daily Hive. I have the link to that in the description as well. So thanks again, Trev. Appreciate it. Good to have you on.
All the best, man. Yeah, take care.
All right, well, that was Trevor Beggsy, the Beggsy Bud. Beggsy, love him. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to finish off by thanking my main and primary sponsor, none other than DraftKings Sportsbook, which is an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, that's code THPN, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario, restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which will expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. This is a limited time offer. Copyright 2026 NHL, all rights reserved. A presentation of DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours, as well as the Hockey Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the network for your favorite podcast covering your favorite team at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, the home of hockey podcasts where it's every team, everywhere. If you enjoyed this interview with Trevor Beggs, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to The Line Change, and be sure to have your notifications turned on so you don't miss more in-depth analysis of the Vancouver Canucks. Also, a thank you to those who have purchased our official merchandise on our official merchandise store. If you haven't yet, go ahead, check it out. We are currently selling our 1-year anniversary collection, which is actually coming up this weekend. So go ahead and check it out. We do have some sales going on. TheLineChangePodcast.threadless.com. Also, if you want to have in-depth conversations and discussions with other Canuck fans in this community, join our official Discord. There's a link to it in the description down below. It is completely free to join. You can find and interact with us on social media. We're everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, even Blue Sky. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. Speaking of platforms, if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us on either platform. It is, of course, greatly appreciated and really helps out the podcast. Also, if you had an episode that you just couldn't get enough of and want to listen to on repeat over and over again, you can download your favorite episode on either platform. That too also really helps out the podcast. And of course, as always, we are very greatly appreciative of that as well. Once again, drop your comments down below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next line change.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.